You grow up thinking owning a Lamborghini is pure happiness, and don't get me wrong, it is incredible. But there is a side of ownership that nobody really talks about, and that's the hidden stresses that comes with driving something like this every single day or every single week. After owning my Lamborghini for almost a year now, these are the things that I've realized along the way. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, what I do is show and tell everything about owning a Lamborghini. So if you yourself want to know what all that is like, subscribe to the channel. I put out content every single week. So number one is going to be the fear of damage. So one of the biggest stresses is honestly protecting the car. One of the first things that I checked for before I even bought the car was to make sure that I had PPF. Any exotic car, special car that you have, I would highly recommend that you get PPF on the car. Obviously, full PPF is definitely the best, but at the bare minimum, if it's a faster car, you should definitely protect the front from things like rock chips and all that. But you start to come across different thoughts in your mind whenever you're driving the car. So you start thinking about every driveway, every steep hill. You try to map out the road in your head before you even get there. You worry about things like potholes, about uneven roads, about roads that may be under construction. There's been so many times where I've had to take in another street or a detour simply because I just didn't trust the road that I was going to be going on. It probably happens every single day or every single time I drive the car. I think about where I'm going to park the car, whether or not there might be enough space, or even if I'm going to go into a parking garage. Hopefully the hill going into the garage is not that steep. You start to notice road quality way more than normal people do. Even leaving the car somewhere for dinner, in the back of your mind you're wondering, and you always want to try to pick a table at the restaurant so you can kind of see your car to make sure nothing happens to it. Although 95% of the time the car is going to be completely fine, but mentally you kind of want to observe the car to see what's going on around it. And I will say that even if the car is just parked on the street somewhere, there are going to be things that are happening around the car. Most of the time it's completely fine, but your thoughts do kind of drift away here and there. You start to think to yourself, did somebody park next to it? Did somebody touch it? Did somebody take a picture leaning on it? The only sort of damage that I've ever really came across with this car is just baby scrapes on the bottom. But one of the things you have to learn whenever you have the car is how to take curbs at an angle. You have to watch out for certain hills that may be too steep, or maybe some that may just be completely fine. You have to think about when to use the front lift system, which I'm glad that this car has. It's a beautiful thing. It's been a lifesaver throughout the course of the ownership. But those things do come across. Having little baby scrapes beneath the car was the only sort of damage that I've came across so far. But again, and even then, I don't really drive much into the city. I typically stick to the highways, but even then, you're gonna come across little parking lots here and there where you may start to second guess yourself. Number two is going to be the attention. I talk about it in probably every single video. Most of the time this is completely fine, but there are times where it can get a little bit sketchy. At first, the attention, it feels exciting. You start to inspire people, which is the best part about this car, about owning it. People will start to record you. Kids scream and jump up and down when they see the car, which is really special. People will rev at you nonstop. They'll also shout at you to rev the car, which is all cool as well. But eventually you do realize when you can never really be invisible with the car anymore. You're basically a unicorn driving down the highway. You're gonna see people roll down their windows, stick their hands out, stick their phones out. You basically become the life of the party, and if you're somebody who's not used to that, you're gonna have a hard time owning the vehicle. This is one of the biggest things I preach on the channel. I would never own the Lamborghini as just my daily or single car. That I would always have a second vehicle that may be a beater or something less attractive to just kind of go about my day-to-day life. Because if you were to drive the Lambo every single day, I guarantee you it will get something that gets really annoying. Whenever people come up to you asking about the car, you want that time to be a special moment, and then if you daily drive the car, it's going to happen to you every single day, and then you're going to start to resent that, which is something you don't want. But at times, sometimes with the car, you just want to go grab coffee peacefully in your sweatpants, but it turns into a whole movie, and some people may not be prepared for that. Number three, this one's a huge one. I have never checked the weather so many times in my entire life until I got this vehicle. Nobody talks about how much the weather controls your life once you own the Lamborghini. The rain suddenly matters way more, cold temperatures matter, road conditions matter, even parking outside for a few hours starts to become a thought process. And because the car sits so low, things most people never think about it becomes stressful. Things like puddles are going to be something you watch out for. If you just got your car cleaned, you try to take into account when you plan on getting your car cleaned, depending on the weather, when you want to drive the car, depending on the weather, because you just got your car cleaned. Things like rough roads, things like flooding, snow residue. Do not get the car unless you have proper storage for it. Things like gravel that may be on the road, hence why I always recommend getting PPF for a car. Things like random construction plates that may also be on the road. Sometimes you literally cancel driving the car altogether because the conditions are just not worth the risk. There's been plenty of times where I've made plans to drive the car, but because the weather was really unpredictable, or if things on the road just kind of didn't seem right, I would cancel that drive and then I'd have to replan my entire day. And honestly, that's one of the weirdest parts of owning the car, of owning the Lambo. You dream about driving the car all the time, but once you finally own it, sometimes the weather decides it for you. But I've driven the car in the rain a couple times, and it was not that fun at all. The windshield is already so narrow that it's very difficult to see through it, and then if you add raindrops on top of that, it just gets a bit more unpredictable. I would also never drive my Lambo in the nighttime. So one of the things about it that a lot of people don't mention online is that whenever you drive the car at nighttime, it's really difficult to see farther down the road because the car is already so low to begin with. Your field of vision at nighttime is not that far out, and there's been so many close calls that I've had with just debris that may be on the road that I can't see from afar. I may have also came across things like animals running across the road, which could have been seen from farther down the road if I was just in a normal car. So I never try to drive the car at nighttime. It's just not my thing. You get a lot of pressure. Owning a Lamborghini creates mental pressure. Once you reach a goal so big, you feel like you kind of have to keep leveling up in life. Some people may not be prepared for that. You almost feel the pressure to maintain success and to keep growing and not go backwards. So this is one thing that could be really important to some people who just can't really go backwards in life. So I kind of taught myself how to do this whenever during COVID. I've actually downgraded my cars from a Lexus RCF V8 to a 3 Series BMW to a Honda Civic. So you may feel a lot more pressure whenever you get the Lambo because you've trained yourself to only kind of move forward in life. But I will say that it takes a bit more grit to be somebody who can actually learn how to level down, to be honest. That one is one that many people don't really talk about, but it is important to kind of learn that skill in my opinion. But that kind of pressure can either motivate some people or it could also destroy some people on their mindset. Financial stress, this one hits you hard at first, but then you do get used to it. A lot of people only see the car, they don't see the responsibility behind it. Things like insurance, maintenance, tires, and unexpected things. So with this one, every cost that I thought I'd be getting with the Lambo was honestly not that bad. My insurance was a bit lower than I thought. Maintenance was a bit lower than I thought. Tires was lower than I thought. Brakes drastically was lower than I thought, especially since I got carbon ceramics. But the biggest one you kind of watch out for is things like minor damage that you may come across. Granted, the Huracan is very, very reliable. It's a reliable car, knock on wood. But one thing going wrong and you're going to be down by the thousands depending on where you go. I will say that before you even get the car, it's also important to kind of know where exactly you're going to be servicing the car. If you are somebody who just plans on getting the car and going into a dealership to get things done, nothing wrong with that if that's what you prefer, but do be aware that the costs you're going to be inquiring are going to be a lot higher rather than going to a local exotic shop that may also know what they are doing. I personally think having a side fund or a side savings account for just the car and things going wrong is a huge peace of mind. Number 6 is going to be the anxiety of leaving it anywhere. There was this one time I parked at my sister's apartment, and I parked in what I thought was a bit of a secluded spot in the parking lot. Like you could say behind a building, in the shade, pretty close to the building, a little bit tucked away. And even then, I did have the window open just to kind of observe the car and see if anything would have happened. There must have been 4 groups of people within a 3-hour span that would walk around the car, check out the vehicle, take pictures of it. So you do kind of feel that bit of pressure around it. Granted, it's a really cool feeling. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But again, if you are somebody who's very, very self-conscious about things like that, that may be something that gets to you if you don't have a special garage to park in or somewhere in a more secluded area. Parking this car somewhere and walking away sometimes feel really weird, especially when you know people notice it. You start parking ridiculously far away And at times, this could be also worse because then you're obviously going to get a lot more heads turned because you're not blended in. But you start avoiding certain areas completely. You start becoming strategic everywhere you go. You pre-plan where you're going to park. You only go to spots that you've been to before just so you know what the vibe is like when you're going to be getting there. Number 7 is the weird social changes. People treat you differently once you own the Lamborghini. Some people become very, very supportive, which is the vast majority of every encounter that I've came across. But others do become very distant. Some assume things about your money, your personality, or your life without even knowing anything about you. This is something you just kind of get used to. Again, all the interactions that I've had so far were very, very positive. But depending on the type of people you hang with, you may not always get the same sort of vibe. You will start to see the vibe kind of change, and then you'll start to see the people that really actually support you versus the ones that don't. But with all that said, would I still buy this car again? 110%. Because the experience is still unbelievable. The sound you hear and feel, the feeling you get, the motivation that it gives you to keep pushing yourself. You eventually just realize dream cars don't remove stress. They simply replace old stress with different stress. And honestly, I'm cool with that.